Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I have a particularly exciting interview today, and I have my friend Allan Foglio with me. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm
Thanks for
doing
having me
very
on.
well. Thank you. All right, thank you for joining. I think everybody's going to like this story because Allan not only is extremely successful, as you'll hear about in a minute, but he comes from humble beginnings, and I know a lot of people that watch this channel and are interested in real estate investing are going to see little pieces of themselves in Allan's story. But before we get to that, Allan, why don't you sort of just share briefly where you are now, sort of, your rentals and what you do in the real estate game today, and then we'll get to your origin story in a minute.
Yeah. So we live in Fresno, California, have a rental portfolio here, um, have an office, buy, fix, and sell, do some wholesaling, and then we have some notes that we own in Indiana.
Yeah, so you do, you're basically doing buy, fix, and sell. That allows you to produce what I call chunks of money that then you reinvest. And when we were together last time, a lot of that reinvestment for you are the notes that you talk about in Indiana. Is that a fair something? A fair? My memory okay?
Yeah, we don't. I'd say it's probably like 60-40. We're probably doing more investing here now than
Awesome.
Indiana, but we're still doing both. So with the money we make from the rehabs and the wholesales,
Mhm.
I just keep buying more stuff, whether it's notes or rentals. So
Yeah, and again, I think that's very interesting. Nobody I've interviewed yet, so we'll touch on the notes thing here now. Why don't you talk about how long you've been doing that? Because it's not been long, if I remember correctly. Just sort of what turned you on to that, why that was interesting to you, and then if you can, why Indiana?
I actually met a guy a few years ago, Michael, in Texas at a real estate convention,
Yeah.
and he was into notes and a note investor, and had actually researched all the different markets across the country, and was buying in Indiana. Thought that was the best market. We became friends. As you know, it's probably closer to like 3 years now, and after knowing him about a year and kind of doing my own research, started investing out there with him.
Yeah. And then just by notes, so these are, we don't have to get exact, but these are like 50K houses. You're getting, I don't know, I'm going to guess 8% on your money kind of stuff, just mailbox money, that range ish.
You know, we're actually buying the assets. We're buying non-performing assets.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then we are carrying the paper. So we work with a few realtors out there who bring us qualified
God.
buyers. And then we carry the paper for the homeowner.
So
So
you're,
it's actually homeowners.
that's awesome. So you're buying at a discount. You're buying, I'll call it distressed notes or whatever they call that, at a discount for sure. You're owning the asset, then you sell it to someone on owner financing. So not only do you get the spread on the price, but you get the spread on the, oh, it's genius. Very, very cool. And just, you have a handful, dozens, 20, 100.
We have a couple dozen out there right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And then what you're doing in Fresno, I think you said is roughly 60%. That's the, as you know, you and I have talked, that's where wealth comes from, right? When you add, assets that'll be producing for a long time and stuff that you pass on, to later generation. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, whether I'm here in Fresno or whether I'm in
Wherever.
we're still making the same amount of money, right? Because the
Yeah,
income's still coming in from the rentals. So
that's
we
awesome.
don't. I mean, we have to keep working on the day to day because I want to keep buying more assets.
Yeah.
But even if we left, we still have the rental money coming in and the note money. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And just to be clear, you said we earlier, and we need to give a shout out to your lovely wife, who, if I'm not mistaken, it's about 3 weeks from having your first little one. Is that right?
yep, she is, man. And actually, the midwives just left. I had to push our phone call a little bit, but yeah, we're getting close to the midwives. She's going to have it here at home, and the midwives are starting to talk about some interesting stuff now as we're closer. So
I
this
don't
is
want to. I don't want to know. It
yeah,
scares me.
yeah. I
Women are
don't even, yeah, I don't want to know either. I'm like, shit. Yeah, yeah,
women are so much stronger than us. It's not even funny.
guaranteed. Yep,
It's not even
100%.
funny. All right, so let's rewind the clock because I think a lot of people are going to sort of see themselves in you now because clearly you're successful, and we've only touched 10% of what you're doing now. But why don't you sort of rewind before you got into real estate? Sort of how did you come into this? Did you come in with the trust fund and wildly educated, and family was in the business, or how did you get to real estate?
I actually was working, just driving tractor on a farm, and my wife was actually in real estate, worked for a new home builder,
Mhm.
and I don't know, man, got to the point like tired of really like not having any money.
Yeah.
And so I just kept like looking for things that I could make more money on doing. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get into real estate and I'm going to be a realtor. That's the only thing I knew because my wife was a realtor.
Yeah.
So I studied, got my real estate license, and I was still driving tractor on the farm. And I would work all day on the farm. And then as soon as I got off work, I would go home, change my clothes,
Yeah.
and put on like nice clothes and go start door knocking. So I did that. I think I had 10 listings my first month.
Wow.
I actually made more in my first month than they were paying me all year as a tractor driver. So when I figured that out, I was like, damn, I can
There's
really
something in this.
yeah, I can really do it. And made the transition pretty quickly out of driving tractor into a realtor full time. Did that for about a year, and then figured out I didn't really like the paperwork.
Yeah.
And I didn't really, like selling other people's properties. It was good, but I just, my heart wasn't there.
Yeah.
So, started buying rentals and figuring out the wholesaling game and kind of went from there.
Yeah. You're such a humble young man. I mean, you dropped a nugget there that you may not even know you did. So you decide to get your real estate license. That takes time, commitment, but let's be frank, lots of people can do that. But what do? You bust your ass all day long. You go home, clean up, change, and you start door knocking as a realtor. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen. Realtors sit by the phone, complain, not all of them, but I mean, I guess I'm stereotyping a little. But what I'm trying to call out is you have been a hustler since day one. And yeah. Go ahead.
I was just say I didn't really even know it was a lot of listings because I started. What really changed things, Michael? To be honest with you, I started listening to like Bob Proctor, Grant Cardone. This was like maybe almost 5 years ago, so a little over 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
But Grant wasn't that big. I came across him on YouTube, and I started listening to Bob Proctor, and just all those types of guys. I started kind of brainwashing myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know, like, because my wife was in new home sales, so that didn't really translate into the type of real estate I was doing. So when people at the office are saying, you've got 10 listings your first month, like, all these people, I said, no. They said, how are you getting these listings? I said, this is what I'm doing. I'm going and door knocking. And I was actually, a lot of my listings were coming from notice of defaults. I figured out how to find it was called foreclosure radar back then. Yeah. Now it's property radar, which everyone knows.
Yep.
But I was going to all those houses and just, there was a lot in Fresno. So
yeah, that's, again, you're saying it so humbly, but you found something that worked, right? NODs, right? Which was publicly available, right? I think foreclosure / property radars, I don't know, $80 a month, something like that. And you used that list, which everyone had access to. And you just started knocking on people's doors. And that hunger, that desire, that just willingness to do the right things is, you say it so humbly that people just don't do that, at least in my experience. So that's why I wanted you on this channel, because people need to hear that you just need to put in the work, find out what works, and go do it over and over again. You probably knocked on, I don't know, I'm going to guess 200 doors to get 10 listings, right? It's not like you knocked on 11.
Number, but I would have to keep it took a lot of follow-up because those people, especially the notice of default people, you had to keep coming back around and building rapport with them. So it was a lot of work, but it paid off because, they were,
motivation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's an issue there. So,
and again, you say follow-up, and again, like, it's no big deal, but people need to realize in this business, you need to put yourself in front of sellers, which you did via door knocking. But then it is so rare to get that kind of one door knock close. Follow up, ask questions, go back, see if things change. That works today. This doesn't work just 5 years ago when Allan started. That's how you do it today.
Yep.
So people need to appreciate that execution, hard work, blocking and tackling work. It's a numbers game. The more doors you knock on, the more people you follow up with, the more deals you'll get. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think I heard you say it a few days ago when we were talking, right? The more no's you get, the closer you are to getting a yes. So
absolutely. Yeah.
For me, it was just running through, seeing how fast I could, if they're not there, then circle back around, just try and talk to everyone.
Yeah. And that's, that's, people need to hear that. Right. And, before we sort of go down this path anymore, I want to make sure people understand, not only were you driving a tractor, you were married at a young age. But if I remember correctly, I don't believe you graduated high school. Is that correct?
I did not. I mean, I'm not proud of it, but yeah, I only went to the 11th grade.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So again, you didn't come out of this with some, super degree from some Ivy League university. You came out with hustle and hunger and they're willing to do the work. So, I hope people hear this, and we've only gotten a taste of what Allan's doing today, but we'll dig into that more. But this is why I wanted to talk to him. So you have this, so you do 10 listings, you realize that being a realtor is hard work. God, the paperwork is a lot. And you start to transition into, you said right into rentals. Was that kind of where you went after you sort of changed from being a full-time realtor? You went right to doing rentals, or what was that transition?
So I bought my first rental, Michael, when I was still, actually a few of them when I was still a realtor. Okay. So let me go backwards just a little bit. So
sure.
As I was a realtor,
yeah,
I had enough money now, cause I was like hustling. So we had enough money to actually go on a real vacation. So
awesome.
My wife says, well, she did some research, and we went to the Bahamas. Make a long story short, we met an old man one night at dinner from Long Beach here in California. And we're talking with him and figured out that this guy owned a shitload of property here in Long Beach and didn't have any kids. So he ended up becoming one of my mentors and kind of taking me under his wing and showing me some stuff. And that was kind of helped me like start getting into rentals, and then started change your mindset, right? My focus. Yeah. Started changing my focus from the realtor to, damn, look what this old guy's got.
Yeah.
All these properties. And he was telling me about, you can travel and the money will still be coming in. And he was right. So I'm like, started connecting the dots. I'm like, shit. So that was really the first time I started thinking about rental properties. So came back home and started changing focus and moving that way.
And again, so it went from income from just selling stuff to, wow, I met this guy. He showed me what wealth looks like, and I want to get me some of that.
Yep.
Basically, right?
Yep. Pretty much, man.
All right. So then, you remember your first rental? What it was?
Yeah, we paid $65,000 for it. Actually, on the market, I can't. That's like when things were starting to come back up, though.
Yeah. So that was
I didn't really
11, 12, probably.
It was a little over 4 years ago. So
13, 14.
14.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it was actually, because I just looked the other day, it was in 2014.
Okay, cool. All right.
So we bought that. It was on the market, $65,000, and it was a short sale, actually. We bought it. Someone in my office had the listing, and we had been saving money because we've been stacking cash because I was freaking hustling.
Yeah. So good for you.
We bought that property, and immediately the lady started not paying rent. Shit, this is working out like we thought. So then we ended up having to evict her. And when we finally got possession of the house, she had a handicapped sister with her. So every time and she knew the laws, man, she really knew them. So every time the sheriffs would come to lock her out, she would provide another document. Yeah. And so we would have to go back to court. It took a long time. It took probably 6 months to get her out. But when we finally did get it, they had stripped the whole house of all the wiring. Like they didn't leave a piece of metal in the whole house. We called the insurance company. Hey, we want to file a claim. Okay, well, for that, you're going to need a police report. We called the police. They said, well, this is a civil matter because she was one of your tenants. You have to take her to court. Gosh. So we ended up eating it and having to do all the rehab. So that was my first rehab. So then
yeah, it's funny how our lives have crossed decades apart. I got to tell you this. So for a lot of people, that first rental would have crushed them. They would have said, this is not for me. I'm going to go back and be a real estate agent. It's a lot easier. I'm going to keep stacking cash, right? That's what most people would have said. We have a similar story. We spent a year looking for properties, and we finally bought a property on Norris Drive there in the Mayfair. We paid $107,000. We were so excited. Right, this was like 2003, right? So decades before you, or a decade before you, and it rented for $1,100. We were so excited, and then a couple moves in. 2 weeks later, the wife takes off. The husband decides that he's going to start drinking every day until his liver gives out. Destroys our house. Never pays again. We have almost a 4-month eviction. He's now putting holes in the walls with hammers, and we don't see any cash for 6 months. again, I give Olivia so much credit. We would not be financially free today if that, for most people, because that first rental would have killed them. They would be like, sell that damn thing, I'm out.
Yep, for sure,
Right?
man. Yep.
So how did you pick yourself up, right? You bought a house at a decent price for 65. They took 6 months of time, because that's what it does in California. They strip it, which is, at least a 10 or 15 grand, bill. Why'd you do another one? I mean, that sounds horrible.
I'm not sure, man. I was super motivated, and I had my mindset. Like, I didn't even skip a beat.
Exactly.
Like, I knew I'm just going to start stacking rentals. So
yeah, you knew that was going to be a rare experience, just like us. And it was like, yes, it happens, but it happens so infrequently. It just happened to happen on our first one. Oops. And you just kept going, right?
Pretty much. Yep. Yeah. We fixed it up, refinanced it, pulled the cash back out.
Exactly.
And then just went on and did the same thing.
Yeah, there's so many ways that you can go and recycle capital, whether it's buy, fix, repair, refi, whatever that is, the BRRRR method. As market cycles change and values go up and interest rates go down or whatever, there's always ways you can get your capital back. And I just want to make sure, when you borrow money or refi it, you don't pay taxes, right?
No.
Yeah, see, people need to get that, right? When you refi or you borrow money against your rentals, there's no tax consequence.
Yeah, that's the good thing.
Yeah, the IRS is not involved.
For sure. Like, even, when we flip stuff here, buy, fix, and sell, I mean, we're just getting hammered with taxes, man.
It's in your income bracket, it's called 50%, brother.
Yep, for sure.
All right. So why don't we walk through? So you did some rentals up front. When did you start to branch out and see that you could do other things in this business?
I think it was when, I know. So then I started, they used to have the, do you remember when the sales were at the Radisson?
Yeah.
Okay. So from there I started looking, okay, what else can I do? So I went to the Radisson. I started watching all the, they were foreclosure sales, but they were like at the Radisson. Like now they're smaller, but they were bigger then.
They were huge.
Yep. And so actually I went one day and was sitting next to this guy, and he actually looked like a gangbanger. And I'm thinking, who the hell is this guy, And I was dressed like a realtor, kind of. I was still
suits and all that.
Yeah, dressing nice. And to make a long story short, by the end of the day, he had bought like $2 million in property. And so I'm thinking, shit, who is this guy?
Yeah.
So then I started talking to him, and then he started talking. We started talking more about wholesaling and different types of things. And then that's kind of when I was already changing my focus, but it just kind of opened my eyes up more. So the flipping part, what these guys were actually doing, how much money they were making.
Yeah. So did you go right from rentals based on that experience to what most people would call flipping, or did you go to wholesaling first and flipping next? What was that order like? Do you remember?
It was right about the same time,
okay.
Michael, to be honest with you. I started, so the distressed properties that I was finding, instead of listing them,
yep,
I actually got rid of my real estate license because the old man, Dean in Long Beach, told me, hey, this is more of a liability now. If you're going to switch to an investor, you need to get rid of your real estate license. So, okay. Yeah. So I got rid of my real estate license and I actually started wholesaling with this guy's old school. He's like been around the block, and he was doing wholesaling before there was wholesaling.
Right.
So he gave me this little one-page piece of paper, basically, as
his contract.
Yeah. And so I started using that to wholesale. So the distressed properties I was finding, just outdoor knocking and hustling.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have really extra money for marketing at that time. So everything I was doing was just door knocking. Instead of listing them, now I'm putting them under contract, and now I'm networking, and I keep going back down to like the Radisson and stuff. And I kept talking to more people. Oh, you've got cash. So now I started putting together, I've got distressed properties. I'm not listing this shit because they're only going to be like $2,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I know these cash buyers. So then I just started putting those two together and started making.
Yeah. So this was like 2016, 15?
Probably, I would say 16, early 16.
Yeah. And again, what you've done there, just continuing with, it has to be the way you're wired. You're just unique like that. And you put in the work. You don't even think about it. You basically inserted yourself between two different types of people. One is potentially motivated sellers of owners of assets, hence door knocking, driving for dollars, whatever you want, right? You're not doing at this time, you're not doing $10,000 mailers or all of that stuff. You're just out doing what you do. And then you also realize you have this other side of the triangle that you have to go find cash buyers. And
Correct.
because you do that, you get to make what in the industry is called the assignment fee or the marriage or whatever you want to call the fee, right? So that's amazing. I mean, did that just come to you, or I mean, how do you piece that? I mean, for most people, that's a complicated scenario. They freak out either finding stuff or they freak out finding cash buyers. But it seems like it came naturally to you. Is that fair?
I think, to be honest, Michael, just because I was like moving like around so fast and just doing a lot of different things, I saw the opportunity and just started putting it together. Like these guys that I was seeing now at the Radisson were buying properties with cash and needed more properties.
Right.
And then I was finding a lot of them were foreclosures.
Sure.
That these people were behind on payments for whatever reason, and just started putting the two together. And then that's where the old man, who had some experience with wholesaling back in the day,
right.
Of course he's retired now, but kind of helped me put the pieces together.
So without getting specific on any dollar amounts, did you do 50 transactions in 16, your kind of first year out at this, 20? I'm just trying to get a feel for how it started that first year.
I was probably doing like maybe a couple a month.
Okay. So let's call it 25 for the year.
Yeah.
Then you ramp into 17, probably something changes. I'm guessing is you find at some point you have money for marketing. I'm guessing.
Yeah. So then I started dumping money into marketing.
Dumping money. Wisely.
I started spending. Yeah, for sure. So I started putting money into marketing, but was still door knocking and doing that.
Yeah. And
just figuring out different strategies to bring in more leads.
Yeah. So what you did is you added more avenues for deal flow, right? From just, again, door knocking is time, right? You have limited time, but then you ramped up with marketing, probably direct mail, I'm guessing.
Correct.
Right? Postcards and letters and all that.
And bandit signs were real big too. Yeah.
Yeah. When did you add your first team member? Not including your wife, which she's obviously a great team member. Somebody not with the Foglio last name. When was that?
Probably a year and a half ago.
So where are we? We're almost. So that would be kind of like middle of 17.
Yeah.
And now, did you add that person with? Were they kind of were they helping you with acquisitions? Were they dispositioned? Were they just acquisitions?
Yep, acquisitions. So I actually brought two in like pretty quick acquisitions, and then kind of like a management person to kind of oversee all the mailings.
Oh, I gotcha. Kind of like an operation, yeah.
Yeah, and just to keep everything organized that was coming in.
Okay. And then in 17, you doubled or tripled what you did in 16, roughly?
Probably pretty close to it, yeah. Because then I started getting into flipping too. So then I was kind of like picking the stuff that was the best stuff.
Yeah.
And that had more margin on it, and started flipping that.
Yeah.
And was wholesaling the other to get more money. Yeah. So then we started kind of doing both.
Yeah. So that's, again, the beauty when you really understand this business and you can insert yourself between potentially I call them asset owners or motivated sellers, whatever you want to call them. And then having the ability to close yourself or have your cash buyers, you get options, right? Now you can look at a deal probably in under 10 minutes and go, this one's a 20K wholesale. Oh, this one might have 50K on it. I might want to flip this one, right? You can, because you have the street knowledge and the skill now, you can make those choices, which is you have every right to do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And now are you still, so let's just say out of 100, just to get a feeling, out of 100 deals that come across your desk, what percent are being wholesaled average versus flipped versus kept? Because you're still growing. I mean, you have a portfolio that's probably larger than mine now or soon will be.
I would say probably wholesaling and flipping were probably about the same, maybe 40-40.
Okay.
To keep money coming in, and then 20 on the rentals.
That's awesome. And again, you're using the 40-40, right? The 80% to fund the acquisitions. That's amazing. That's what everybody wants to get doing. So
everybody can do it, man.
That's the key, right? Everybody can do it. You just have to get out of your own way. You have to execute. I mean, you say it so humbly, right? Oh, I just went out a door knock. Oh yeah, and by the way, I followed up, and it takes lots of communication. You have no idea how many people just don't do that. They just think it happens.
I think a lot of guys, I talk to guys at the real estate meetups and stuff.
Yeah.
But you tell them like, because it's not like rocket science, right?
Yeah.
So this is what we do. This is what we do for marketing. But you actually have to put in the work. Like, I don't think a lot of guys, like, dude, shit takes a lot of work. I'll be upfront with you. And anybody that tells you it's not a lot of work is full of shit.
Right.
So it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It pays off. I mean, you can accomplish a lot in a short amount of time if you just get after it.
And let's just say this also, because I think they need to hear this also. It's consistent work. It's not like you can bust your ass Monday through Wednesday and then take 5 days off.
No.
Right. At least not consistently. You've got to stay after it, right?
Yeah, because you're filling a pipeline too, right? So as you're filling that pipeline, you have to like keep filling it. You have to keep filling it. Yep. If you don't, the leads are just going to stop, and you're going to.
Yeah, you create air pockets in your pipeline, and air pockets suck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
So let's put our thinking caps or time machine or whatever you want to call it, and you're expecting your little one here in about 3 weeks. Congratulations again. It's a baby girl, if I remember correctly. So congratulations.
Thanks.
3 to 5 years from now, do you have a rental portfolio and you're just off running in your RV and not worried about this anymore? Have you doubled or tripled the business? Have you franchised it? What are you doing?
We're just going to keep buying rentals, and I've kind of backed off just a little on the notes. I think you and I are actually using the same property management company. I'm actually starting to hand some of my stuff off from my office.
Yeah.
To
I recommend that strongly for you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. To a local property management company here, because we've been overseeing all the rentals. I think we're at, I don't know, we're over 60 right now, but I've got an 11 unit we're going to close on this week. So that'll put us,
I can't believe you not only all the other stuff you were doing, but you were a manager of 60 units also. That hurts my head how busy you must have been.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, and even talking to you, we haven't known each other very long, but I don't know, man. You just don't really realize how much work you're doing until other people from the outside, like, oh, you're doing all that shit? Yeah. Well, it's like, yeah, I mean.
And you're making 3 cents doing that. It's not very well spent. Time well spent.
And the thing is, too, I think you have to maybe not be careful who you surround yourself with, but like really pay attention to, like I was listening to a video this morning. It was actually Cardone, but he's talking about like networking and who you're surrounding yourself with, right? That's a big thing.
Yeah, because the top 5 people. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure, man. If you're hanging around with 3 guys who are smoking dope and watching TV, you're going to be number 4 100%. So
no question. I either overtly or not, people need to see that. I'm very selective with people who I decide to spend any time with. You've got to be go-getters and going after it. Guys like you. So it's so right. And
I think it's the same thing with, let's like just hit on property management real quick, right? If all you see is other guys like managing their own, or that's all
right?
You don't ever expand your horizon or reach out to other people.
Yeah.
You don't really see anything wrong with it. So, but you get to a certain point, you get so bogged down, you can't, like, dude, I even put off like buying more rentals. I've wholesaled you quite a bit of stuff, but just because of all the bullshit you start dealing with. So to get that off of my plate and be able to focus and add more to it. So it's just a learning curve, I guess. So.
If that's your learning curve, I think everybody would pay for it. You have no idea. But I do remember that lunch we had with you and your lovely wife, and I just put it out there, right? I'm always straight up. I'm like, that stuff's going to kill you, right? That property management stuff is a low margin business. It's a headache and hassle you just don't need to deal with. And it's causing you to buy less stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it actually slows you down, right?
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with all the bullshit, and it's like,
time.
You know what? I'm not even going to buy anymore. Yeah, the time for sure.
Time. Yeah. So
weighs you down.
Weighs you down, and your energy and all of that. So I'm so happy to hear you tried it. It worked out, and get all those 70 some odd units over to them. You'll give up whatever you're going to give up, but you'll make 100 times that every all the time. So it'll be good for you.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
All right. So we've gotten to part of actually, no, we haven't. what are you going to be doing in 3 to 5 years? So you're not going to property management anymore, but where are you going?
So yeah, we bought the big RV. As you know, I had some heart issues and had to have heart surgery. And so I just told my wife, hey, let's kind of not maybe slow down, but let's start traveling a little bit.
Enjoy, right?
Yeah. So we're in a situation, thankfully we can do that. And so we bought an RV and started traveling a little bit. But that being said, man, I still want to keep, we've slowed down a lot on the wholesales, to be honest with you, and even the flips. But the money that's come back in, I'm recycling into more rentals. Yeah. So we're probably going to ramp up the wholesaling again. I'm feeling better now. Mm-hmm. I've got my energy back and stuff. It's been about 6 months since my heart attack. Yeah. So we're putting the foot back on the gas. And
well, let's not forget you're about to have a new addition. So you might want to wait a couple of months, but I know you're going to do big things. You've already proven it, right? When your mind switches, magic happens. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So what I want to do is just wrap up. I want to turn it over to you, Allan, so you could just, if you want to, ask the audience for anything, if you're looking for buyers or private money or whatever it is you might need, or words of wisdom or whatever, the floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah. Appreciate it. To be honest, Michael, I'm not really looking for anything per se, but if guys want to reach out to me or anyone, needs advice, they feel free to contact me. They can reach me on my email at allan@fogliogroup.com. And that's spelled ALLAN at FOGLIO group, GROUP.com. And yeah, if anyone, wants to reach out and network, I'm happy to do that. And that's all I got, great, man.
All right. I really appreciate it. Thank you for giving me your, the time today. I really appreciate it. I know people are going to really get energized to see what's possible. Cause again, the stuff that you say just off the cuff is what people need to hear. It takes work. It takes follow-up. It takes consistent execution, but the business works. And that's what I think people are going to take from this presentation or this meeting. So I really appreciate it.
Yep. You're welcome, man. It's not brain science. It's just kind of figuring out the basics and just getting after it and going from there.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Let me turn this off and we'll just catch up.
Cool.